The next time you open a shoebox, unseal a new gadget, or twist open a bottle of vitamins, there is a good chance you will find the same packet inside, printed with the words, "Do not eat." Most people glance at it once and throw it away. It feels like filler, something included out of habit, but that small packet is not there by accident, and it is not doing a meaningless job. It is there to fight moisture, one of the most ordinary and quietly destructive forces in everyday life. Behind those beads is a story about invisible damage, material design, and a tool that protects objects long before trouble becomes visible. To understand why a tiny packet sits beside so many important things, we have to begin with one simple fact. It is not there as an extra. Let's get into it right here on Secrets of Simple Things. It looks like packaging filler, but it isn't. Silica gel is easy to underestimate because its work begins before anything appears to be wrong. It is not there to fill empty space. It is there to guard against humidity, a threat that often leaves no obvious trace until damage has already started. In shoes and clothes, moisture invites mold and mildew. In electronics, it can encourage corrosion, damaged contacts, or short circuits. In medicine bottles, it can slowly reduce the stability of pills meant to stay dry. In food packaging, it can alter texture, cause clumping, and shorten shelf life. In cameras, lenses, storage boxes, and document containers, it can create fogging, warp paper, and damage things meant to last. Moisture is easy to dismiss because it is so often invisible, and that makes silica gel easy to dismiss too. When it works well, things simply stay dry and intact. But once you understand what it is defending objects from, an interesting question begins to emerge. What exactly is this material? Silica gel is not actually a gel. The first surprise is hidden in the name itself. Silica gel does not behave like what most people imagine when they hear the word gel. It is not soft, slimy, wet, or jelly-like. In fact, it is not a gel in the everyday sense at all. It is a solid made from silicon dioxide, the same basic compound found in sand and quartz. That familiar origin is part of what makes it so fascinating. The raw material is ordinary, but the transformation feels strange. Instead of remaining dense and granular like sand, it is processed into tiny beads with an extremely porous structure. Inside each bead are countless microscopic pores, far too small to see, but crucial to what the material can do. Those pores create enormous internal surface area in a very small volume. So the real surprise is not that silica gel comes from something familiar. It is that a substance associated with sand can be reshaped so thoroughly that it becomes a quiet, specialized tool. And that unusual internal structure is where the real story begins. A surface engineered to catch water. To understand how silica gel works, one distinction matters more than it first appears. Silica gel relies on adsorption, not absorption. Absorption is what happens when a substance is drawn into another material, the way a sponge soaks water deep into itself. Adsorption is different. In adsorption, molecules cling to a surface. That difference is the key. Silica gel is effective not because the beads are large, but because each bead contains an immense amount of hidden internal surface. Every bead is like a microscopic labyrinth lined with places where water molecules can settle. As humid air moves around the packet, water vapor is drawn toward those surfaces and held there. There are no moving parts, no visible reaction, and no complicated mechanism you can watch. The material simply presents moisture with a vast, invisible landscape and quietly collects it, molecule by molecule. This is why a small packet can do so much inside a sealed box, bottle, or container. It helps control humidity, reduces the chance of condensation, and protects objects from slow moisture damage many people never notice until it is too late. The power of silica gel does not come from its appearance. It comes from the architecture hidden inside it, and that elegant mechanism leads to another surprising detail. Even after capturing a great deal of moisture, silica gel still does not feel wet. Why it can be. full of moisture and still feel dry. One of the strangest things about silica gel is that even after it has captured a great deal of moisture, it still does not feel wet when you touch the packet. At first, that seems contradictory, but the water is not sitting on the outside where your fingers meet it. It is held deep inside the bead's microscopic network of pores, spread across those hidden internal surfaces. From the outside, the packet can look unchanged even while it is actively doing its job. That is what makes silica gel so useful in sealed spaces. It does not leak, drip, smear, or leave visible mess behind. A camera lens looks the same. The material is holding water, yet it leaves almost no outward sign of that work. And once you understand how quietly it does this, another question follows. How did such a strange material move from the laboratory into everyday life? From war equipment to everyday packaging. Silica gel did not begin its life as a quiet companion to shoeboxes or vitamin bottles. It emerged in the early 20th century, when chemistry professor Walter A. Patrick developed it at Johns Hopkins University. The goal was not consumer convenience, it was industrial usefulness. One of its earliest roles was tied to World War I, when moisture control mattered in applications such as gas masks. In wartime, dampness was not a minor annoyance. It could shorten storage life, weaken materials, and compromise reliability when conditions were harsh and unpredictable. During World War II, silica gel was used to help protect military supplies, ammunition, and electronic equipment from moisture that could corrode, degrade, or disable them. That history gives the material a distinctly SST kind of meaning. Something now tucked casually into everyday packaging was once part of a much larger effort to preserve tools, technology, and supplies under pressure. After the wars, industries recognized how broadly useful that same moisture control could be. Over time, silica gel moved out of specialized settings and into consumer products. Once people had an effective way to fight humidity, it was almost inevitable that the material would begin appearing everywhere. Why it ended up everywhere. Once silica gel existed, its spread into everyday life was almost unavoidable, because moisture threatens different things in different forms. A shoebox does not fear humidity for the same reason a camera case does, and a bottle of vitamins does not need protection in the same way a box of electronics does. But each has something to lose. In shoes, trapped moisture encourages mold and mildew. In electronics, it can lead to corrosion, damaged contacts, or short circuits. In food packaging, it can change texture, clump powders, and reduce freshness and stability. In medicine bottles, it can slowly degrade pills meant to remain dry and reliable. In cameras and lenses, it can cause fogging that interferes with both clarity and performance. In closets, storage bins, and document boxes, it can leave clothes musty, warp paper, and quietly damage things that may have been saved for years. The same invisible enemy moves through many different worlds, and in each one the damage takes on a different form. That is why the same small packet appears in so many places. It is not protecting one category of object. It is standing between many categories of objects and the same basic problem. Some versions even include indicator beads that change color once enough moisture has been absorbed, briefly making an invisible process visible. So silica gel ends up everywhere for a simple reason. Almost everything has its own way of being vulnerable to dampness. And by this point, most people start wondering two practical things. Is it dangerous? And once it has done its job, can you do anything useful with it? The warning label, the misunderstanding, and the useful part. Despite the dramatic wording, silica gel is not usually dangerous in the way people imagine. It is not a conventional poison. If someone accidentally swallows the beads, they usually pass through the body without causing serious harm. The warning exists mainly because the packets are small enough to become a choking hazard, especially for children and pets. Some types also contain moisture indicators such as cobalt chloride, which is another reason they are not meant to be eaten. So the message is simple. It is not exactly poison in the ordinary sense, but it still does not belong in your mouth. The more interesting detail is that silica gel can often be reused. With gentle heat, usually around 100 to 120 degrees Celsius, the trapped moisture can be driven out and the beads can dry again. That means the packet does not have to end its life in the trash. It can be reused in storage boxes, gym bags, metal tool drawers, document containers, or other enclosed spaces that quietly collect dampness. People sometimes even use it to help dry wet electronics after the device has been powered off. Before throwing one away, pause for 5 seconds and ask one question: is there anything I am storing whose real enemy is moisture? That small pause can turn packaging waste into a practical tool. A tiny packet fighting an invisible enemy. Silica gel is easy to overlook because it is silent and forgettable. But inside that forgettable packet is a clever piece of material design, shaped by history and built for a very specific purpose. It is not random filler, and it is not a meaningless extra. It is a quiet defense against a problem most people barely notice until the damage is already done. Few things capture the spirit of simple things better than that. Something tiny, ordinary, and almost invisible, solving an equally invisible problem all around us. So the next time you find one of those packets in a box, you may not see it as an afterthought anymore. You may see it for what it really is: a small, engineered guardian against one of everyday life's hidden threats. If this video changed the way you see something as small as a silica gel packet, subscribe to Secrets of Simple Things for more hidden stories inside the ordinary objects around us. And if there is another everyday thing you have seen 100 times but never really understood, leave it in the comments below. It might become the next simple thing we explore together.